President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, has said Nigeria won't allow the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, to continue operation in Nigeria if the American government agency is found guilty of sponsoring terrorism. If it is true that USAID has been funding Boko Haram in Nigeria, we have no business allowing them to have offices in Nigeria. So before we can take decisive steps and also ask for recompense, automatically we must go deeper into the issue, the Senate President said. To investigate the allegations by United States Congressman Perek Scott that the USAID has been funding terrorist organizations including Boko Haram in Nigeria, the Senate summoned heads of security and intelligence agencies. The resolution was prompted by an order of urgent national security raised by Senator Mohammed Ali Ndume, representing Borno South Senatorial District. Ndume urged the Senate to treat the revelation with utmost seriousness, citing the devastating impact of terrorist activities, particularly by Boko Haram on Nigeria. The summoned officials include the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, NIA, the Chief of the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, the Director of the Department of State Services, DSS, and the National Security Advisor, NSA. Senate President Godswill Akpabio endorsed the resolution but emphasized the sensitivity of security matters, stating that such issues are best addressed behind closed doors. Well, I actually watched a little clip about the sitting that they had. The Senate President saying that if truly this is, well, we cannot just rush into conclusion until we've done proper investigation into the matter to be sure that this allegation from the U.S. congressman are really noticed. But if truly that the USAID are sponsoring Boko Haram in the country, that they do not have any business having offices in Nigeria. And if we recall, USAID is one, part of how do I put it, an agency or a body that has been, the U.S. has been using to help in Nigerians in the health sector, especially in the issue of HIV, malaria, and tuberculosis, and other aspects, if we may recall. But I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Mr. Ayakamono, or Chief Ayakamono.
Well, first, the Senate President is right. If an agency like that should be found complicit, for now it's an allegation.
Yes.
But allegation that is coming from very high quarters. Because a senator of the United States of America, if he has no information, wouldn't be opening his mouth so wide, to make such allegations. Also for the president of the United States of America, who has virtually, in quotes, disbanded that organization because of the activities, and in fact had even alleged and giving them a terrorist, being involved in terrorism activities,
yes,
the overthrow of governments and so on. So for me, the Senate President is right, and that is the direction to go, that we need to, beyond political rhetorics. When a president first comes into office, that though this is not the first time of President Trump coming into office, but the euphoria, and this mantra of making America great again, sometimes could, the euphoria could just overwhelm, could just be overwhelming. So, but the steps that are being taken, I read from the news yesterday that the Governors Forum also invited the Nigerian U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, and they had an audience with him, and he denied completely, the allegation of being involved in terrorism and banditry-related matters, especially the Boko Haram. So they denied that. But we shouldn't just stop at that. We should do a thorough investigation. It's a good thing that the top echelon of our intelligence services, they are the people that have been invited.
Yes.
The DIA, Director of DMI, the Director of Intelligence, the Army Intelligence, and they have also invited the DSS, You know, of recent, the DG of DSS has been very outspoken. You know, Ajayi. That was, fortunately for us, he was also here, one of the last states that he served, River State. And he's been very outspoken on security issues and how to tackle security. And of course, the National Security Advisor, all of them should be invited to tell us, because it's not, including the IG, it's not a joking matter.
It's not.
Looking at their involvement, they have been here since the 90s. You know, even there was a time in River State they were here at the GRA Phase 2. They were there for so many years, impacting on our development one way or the other, building capacity of persons. So for this kind of accusation to come, we need to look deeply into it, so that we don't just to hang a dog. We don't make allegations just for the fun of it. So that's my position on it.
Thank you so much in that, sir. I'd love to get your thoughts on the rule. I may know. And then we have that Trump actually came to say that he would audit the funds that has been, you know, going into the USAID. And if I'm not mistaken, there's been a situation that most of the staffs were laid off in America. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, most of the staffs were actually laid off. I think they tried to come back at some point, but Trump said no, we're going to reduce them. I think it's about 30 of them or 60, if I'm not mistaken. So this is actually a serious matter as it stands. Well, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, please.
Thank you very much. My problem is not the Senate sitting to hear this matter.
Okay.
Mine is, will the truth come out at the end of the day? And what will the American government do? Because, you know, like the Senate president, there was somebody that raised a motion that it should be done indoors for security reasons. Now, are you sure that after doing it indoors, it will not be thrown out? It's a good one if that investigation should be taken. And let's see, because this terrorism or thing has been a whole lot of issue in Nigeria.
So, considering the fact that, because Godswill Akpabio made a statement that it was from social media that the information came, then Ali Ndume said no, that this came from an individual, a congressman, that it was not a social media situation, though it's a serious matter that has to be critically examined. So I think the Senate president said, okay, let's do this indoors, and most of them eyed into it. They agreed into the situation because of the delicacy of the whole situation. So you're saying that to have a closed-door meeting over it is not a good call. And then let's say truly that this is actually what is going on in the country, like you stated. What do you think would be done over it?
Ordinary security matters are not matters we just bring out to discuss. You know, because of the things involved. The security has to do with a whole lot of security. But my concern is what will happen after they must have gotten the truth. You know, now how I wish that this Usaid will leave the shores of Nigeria, so that we can start harnessing our potentials. We have been looking for aid for quite a long time. You see us getting aid from many bodies, international organizations, and all that. While we have all it takes to get what we are looking for outside of the shores of Nigeria. So if they leave, I think it's a good one.
Considering the fact that we've benefited so much from the USAID since 1990, like you stated, so if the leave it's going to be a good one.
By then we'll start holding our leaders responsible.
So what if we realize and they make their closed-door findings and realize this were mere allegations, and then the USAID in Nigeria gets withdrawn out of the country, because we know lots of things we have benefited from it? Do you think there's more like a controversy going on somewhere, you know, to withdraw the USAID from Nigeria by bringing in this kind of allegation?
Well, the investigation should go on. At the end of the day, whatever resolution that comes out, better. But to me, I think it's high time we start taking responsibilities
on our own.
We've got so much in this country.
Okay.
We have so much to offer to our people. We have mineral resources that we can harness and bring out things. Now, if we start doing this, you find out that we create a whole lot of employment for our youths. we start harnessing, start going through these our mineral resources, making things inputs from them, it will create a whole lot of employment for Nigerians, and it will really help. So if the allegation is, if they find wanting, I think is good, and they should be penalized, since the American government is is involved, and they needed they needed to know the truth pertaining it, because they've been alleged to be financing terrorism.
Well, this is your Boko Haram, if we may recall. It's been a serious thing for concern. I think recently there's been allegations or recent stories that they have started recruiting underage children. And the question, if we have to look at it, is how do they get to recruit these children? How do they get weapons? Because most of the weapons they use are sophisticated. So it's either there's a strong body that's sponsoring this terrorism, or it's particularly an organization or an individual, because these people there, they have doctors that come to treat them. There was this report that we had that a particular doctor, one of them is actually an international one, that comes to treat them, and one of or some of the doctors are indigenes from the states, so you get to ask, how do they get most of this aid? How do they get weapons? How do they get bullets on a daily basis into this whole that aids this terrorism that's going on in the country? But I'd love to get your final thoughts on this issue of terrorism going on in the country. If eventually we realize, after the findings from the intelligence, that Usaid is really not sponsoring the Boko Haram in quotes and the terrorism going on in the country, what do you think would be the U.S. decision in this matter?
What will be the U.S. position?
Yes.
On this matter? Well, of course, the U.S. position, the pointers are clear. The president has come out strongly and in a very hard manner to say that these people, from the papers that are available to him, from the records, from evidences available to him, that these people are involved, not only in Nigeria, but other countries in Africa and around the world, destabilizing these countries, for the interests of, in quotes, for a supposedly national interest, that is usually the interest of a few persons that perhaps might be in government at that particular point in time, Just, you will recall that under the Goodluck Jonathan administration, Goodluck Jonathan had actually alleged that so much was being done to undermine his administration towards that election, the election of 2015, including the involvement of the president even sponsoring the Secretary of State, to come into the country on the eve of election and seeing the presidential candidate of a particular party avoiding. So many things. And these are things that, of course, it's a unit of the State Department, which is in charge of their foreign policy.
Yes.
So they could use any particular tool, any particular arm, any particular instrument to achieve what they want. So if at the end of the day the investigations are true, I like the doubt expressed by Honorable Amenu. Of course, the doubt being that are we sure at the end of the day that what will come out of it is a true representation of the processes that the processes involved in this matter, which he is very correct about it. But let's hope. Just like he expressed some concern, though he said security issues are specialized areas, but some of these things, after all, the congressman, that's Scott Perry, Perry Scott, that came out to speak, he said these things in the open. So in Nigeria, when we continue to have some of these executive sessions, they are subject to abuse, and also trying to make sure that total picture of whatever the processes are not available to public scrutiny. So that is our concern. So make it open. It can be a public hearing. It can be in whatever way you want to do it. But make it open so that Nigerians and indeed the international community will be satisfied.
Okay. Thank you so much on that, sir. Well, let's also look at the scenario that the USAID is not the only agency that's sponsoring terrorism in the country. There are other ones, you know, and then like the Senate has stated that if the USAID is found guilty of these allegations, there's no need for them to have their offices in Nigeria. You know, do you think making that move is going to curb insecurity and terrorism in the country?
For sure, if you cut, assuming that it's part of the sponsorship, even for this year, we are talking about $690 million aid for this year alone. And if there's concrete facts that some of these monies are being funneled into sponsoring terrorism, then it means that we have cut off a very large chunk of supply. You asked here that how do they get their arms and so on. This could be just one of the sources. The other source being being what they are doing, you know, the opaque operations involved in solid mineral mining in those areas, because solid mineral mining is also key to understanding the Boko Haram incidents in the north, the liberalization now. You know, before now, there has been solid mineral mining, you know, by some elites around there. Nobody knew. You know, everybody looks at oil and gas, while solid minerals are being mined, you know, in that area. But now, when it became open, and many people became interested, and of course, the drying up of the Sahel, you know, agriculture, access to limited land and so on, now brought up these issues of Boko Haram and others, unemployment and so on. Until then, these were some of the issues. But when you cut off this source of fund, I'm sure that you have cut off part of the feeder, you know, on which the individuals also. We have seen situations where Toji, for instance, has come out to say that, are you saying that the state government does not know where I am? We have even seen Toji on social media, where Toji was being top-banned, you know, under particular administrations. And also there's a lot of things that are going on there. And all these things should properly be scrutinized. It may not be only USAID. Other organizations might be involved one way or the other. But we need a comprehensive investigation of the activities of these development partners in some of these areas, especially the Northeast.